All right, guys, I have Alan on here with you today. This has been a long time coming since like 2017. Alan has helped our family in so many ways, and I just want to share that with you guys today. Our journey started out where we were buying from Alan. He is a wholesaler. He goes into the market and he gets the best fresh produce at the best prices. People see my produce hauls all over the internet and they say, oh my gosh, this must be so expensive. And when I say, no, it's actually half of what we were spending at the grocery store, people just don't believe me. So I just wanted to hop on here with Alan and talk about it. In the beginning, like I said, we were buying from him. Now we do it ourselves. He was able to help us figure out exactly how to do that. In the beginning, we were hooked up with several families. We had a big pickup truck. We were able to, help different people in different areas. Now I am working with one other family and barely getting our boxes into our, cars just for two families. So it's crazy how much things change over the years. But I wanted to hop on here quickly and just kind of talk about pricing. I know everyone here is interested in celery, and I just want to say, grocery store, $2.69, wholesale, $1.33. So just think about what that could do for your family. Alan, what other examples do you have of, pricing, and just kind of talk about how it works? Give people the rundown.
So wholesalers are usually most often found in medium to large size or urban areas where there's going to be like a port, like Kimberly and I live close to the port of Philadelphia. So you could think about, okay, the port of New York, the port of Miami, the port of San Francisco, the port of Los Angeles would have similar facilities. Now, that's not to say that every place doesn't get deliveries from wholesalers, but you might have to dig a little bit deeper in order to find your connection to the wholesaler. As far as prices go, or as far as the difference between retail and wholesale, wholesale is you are going to have to buy a larger bulk container. For apples, you're going to have to buy a 38-pound container. The normal size apple is between 88 and 100 apples.
But when you're juicing, I'll just jump in. When you're juicing, you can fly through those in, quickly, very quickly.
Well,
That's what people don't realize.
The other thing is, you when you start doing this, you do become sensitive to what keeps for how long a period of time. Apples, if cared for reasonably well in a cold situation, keep for an exceedingly long period of time. Other things are more fragile. Greens are fragile, and you might want to look at, let's say you bought 24 bunches of chard, which is a case size. You might want to forward weight that and juice a lot at the beginning of the week or the beginning of the 2 weeks that you're going to have that particular case, and just to use it up before it wilts. Or cilantro is another thing. The other thing,
and I wanted to just jump in I just want to jump in real quick. There are two blogs up on reclaimersofhealth.com that Alan Guest did for me back in 2017. One of them talks about how to store produce, and one of them talks about how you can do this in your area. So I just want to make everyone aware of those two resources that have been up there to just kind of recirculate some of this information this year. And I want to jump back in. And speaking of apples, Alan sent me some pricing this morning. I just wanted to say this. A gala apple in the grocery store, $2.50. Right now in wholesale, $1.31. So just another example of the price cut is really substantial.
Right. That's why when people are looking at your hauls, they're getting fooled because immediately they're thinking in their mind that things cost the same as what they're buying it for. Well, correct. It doesn't cost the same at all. The other correct. Thing is the pricing that we're going to be talking about today is for premium produce. And every week at the produce wholesaler,
yes,
we do get further discounts. Well, why do we get further discounts? Well, there's a bunch of different reasons, one of which might be if there's a case of those 5-ounce box clamshell salads and the date is short on them, like the date on the case might be 2 days from now, that wholesaler cannot sell those box salads to a retailer because the retailer has zero time to resell to their customers. Therefore, that product to the wholesaler is worth nothing. And just 2 weeks ago, I got a bunch of different selections of Earthbound 5-ounce salads in 8 5-ounce containers per case, and they were $3 for the case.
Yeah, so, sometimes you just find things. And I remember back when I was going to the market, when things were a little different, I would have both the kids and we'd go to the markets. And my best find was a case of organic grapes for $5. You know how much grapes are in the grocery store? Like a bundle of grapes could be $15, $5 for a case. So
right. So
those are the things that, yes.
So when you're talking about grapes come in a standard case of 18 pounds. So when you're saying $5 for 18 pounds of grapes, that's 3 pounds for $1 instead of, and if you were getting that retail, they're at least $4 a pound.
Yes.
So what we have to, when you're working with a wholesaler, the wholesaler has a resource that's going bad over time, and they are good business people. They understand how much of their product is going to get sold, and they make lots of money because they sell 95 or 98% of their lot at the premium price. But if you're in the area or you're sensitive to their issue, you can swoop in every single week, because let's look at a wholesaler. They have a portfolio of 300 items. There has to be, every single day, there has to be items that they need to get rid of and that they want to get rid of to clear their inventory space for new stuff coming in. So they constantly have this quote unquote problem that as a consumer, you can take advantage of.
The other one that got me this morning that I know everyone would love to hear, lemons, which, lemons can be really expensive. $1.19, the grocery store, you said 56 cents. I mean, think about your grocery bill. If you could take everything that you're buying and cut it in half. And the other thing people don't realize when they say, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. Number one, illness is super expensive. Number two, when you stop buying these, beautifully colored packages in the middle of the store, those things are expensive. When you cut all of that out of your life, and I know this is drastic and I want this to reach everyone, whether you're, just starting to juice or just starting to do everything, but I want you to know that those things are expensive. So when you start to decrease or cut those things out completely, your grocery bill goes down. Then you start looking into something like produce hauling, and you are saving. We have saved so much money. There's no way that we could do this as a family for 4 people. And people say, oh, but the other 2 they're 2 little kids. Doesn't matter. Those kids consume a ton of produce. Like, we're juicing, they're drinking mason jars full of juice and smoothies and all of this stuff. So that being said, this is a way of life. And this is something that, allows people to do the healing, to do the work, because without getting the produce, you can't heal your body. So this is super important. Can you talk about case minimums, teaming up with other families? How do people make this work if it's like one single person or 2 people? How do they do it?
So basically what you want to think about is okay, you have this information and maybe you don't have a vehicle, or maybe you are some distance from the market and you need help, or maybe you are not going to be able to consume a 40-pound box of sweet potatoes or 100 apples or 18 pounds of grapes. Are fragile. Grapes are going to go bad relatively soon. So you say you want to split them amongst a group. Okay, there's a bunch of different situations. Maybe you have colleagues at work who would be willing to share this. Maybe you have folks in your apartment complex who would be willing to share this. maybe you have to go as far as to advertise that you have this information on a local Facebook board, like for your
Yes.
town, for your area. I mean, when I started this and I had the information prior to moving to Collingswood, and I just moved to Collingswood. Collingswood is literally 7 minutes from the wholesaler. And I just basically said, okay, I have all this information, but I know no one. And I just put this out on the Philly Vegan board and onto the local Collingswood, Oakland, etc. boards. And I started a club, and that was in March of 2016, just starting from nothing. I knew zero people in this
And
area.
that's exactly, yes. And people don't have to eat like you or like me or anything. Everybody eats produce to some degree. People
Right.
see me in my driveway and they see us hauling all these boxes, and neighbors will stop and they'll say like, "Oh my gosh, what do you have?" And then we're just giving stuff to people. But I will
Right.
say that everyone's interested. So if you just put yourself out there and they see you outside or they see you on a Facebook board or whatever it is, they may not want a whole case of apples, but they may want a portion, and then you can sell it or
Well,
you can half it
what I
or
do for
right.
people, right? When people say, "Oh, is there a minimum purchase?" I say, "No, there's no minimum purchase. If you want, two apples, one avocado, a lemon, and a head of celery, that's your order for the week. Just put your order in,
Yes.
and people come into my driveway and come back to my garage and pick
And
their
that's
order
what's
up."
so great about what you're doing. Yes, that's what's
Yeah,
so
it's
great
literally
about what you're doing. So if
right.
someone could do something like what you're doing in other areas, then families can share. If you're in it by yourself or with one other family, then yes, you're taking the whole case. But you can certainly team up with neighbors, with friends, with coworkers, and just make it work
Right.
because
So
it's saving
the other
everyone
thing
money.
that we might want to touch on, as far as keeping things and keeping things fresh, is care. And
Mhm.
care is okay. If you don't have anyone, you might be able to buy a few things, but there are a few things that keep for a long period of time. You can keep apples for a long period of time and just use them as you use them. But if you're using, I don't know, 15 apples a week, that case is going to go in about 7 or 8 weeks.
Mhm.
And then you move on to your next case. Um, Sweet potatoes are especially so. Sweet potatoes are incredibly nutritious, but they also don't need storage. So you can keep them in a cooler area, someplace that's like 55, which is
Yep, your
quote
garage, your
unquote
basement.
the garage or basement is just going to be at 55, and they'll keep for like 6 weeks without any attention, and you can just be what we're talking about is being able to afford to change
Your life.
the bedrock that you use for food. So a lot of
Yes.
people use like pasta or bread or something like that as the
As a filler,
bedrock,
yes.
as
Hmm.
the but if you can, the other thing is, wholesale is good for some things, but wholesale is not good for everything. So if you're
Absolutely.
going to have a raw diet and you're able to buy in your area bananas for around 70 cents a pound, that's perfectly a great price,
Right.
because you're going to get $28, $26, somewhere in that range is the wholesale price. So your retailer sells for the same as a wholesaler for bananas. So the majority, if you're say going to go raw, the majority of your calories can be from bananas, which are available at your local retailer, and you're not losing any price
Right,
advantage.
right. So
Where
so really being able to look at those price sheets and know like, oh, I could get this cheaper at this grocery store or that grocery store or whatever it is. But just so people don't get overwhelmed, you learn that as you go. When I
right,
first started doing it, I had no idea. I just relied on Alan. I looked at the prices and I would just pick the things that our family could use for the week. And we were picking up every week at that point. Then we got to a point where it was like, I was going through so much, and it was like, we can take a case because now I'm not scared, because now I know how to store it and what to do with it and how to make it last. But you will learn that as you go. So what I want to just kind of reiterate today is that don't be afraid to jump in. Don't be afraid to start with a case or split a case with someone, or kind of just see how it goes. And once you start, you'll inch your way to more and more and more. And that's kind of what happens. And as you're doing that, you're putting more good things in your body. You're feeling better. I mean, it's a win-win situation because you're saving that money. Alan, how can people find you? What do you do for people? What do you do for people that aren't in the community? Because you've helped tons of our followers and clients over the years now. I have people that, years later, they're telling me they're still doing the same thing, and in Boston and Florida and different areas. So can you just talk a little bit about what you do and how you help?
So in the Philadelphia area, I can either meet people at the market and give them a tour, or there's a therapist in Philadelphia who I just have been meeting at the market and dividing a case of celery with her and doing things like that. I also can talk to people in the Philadelphia area by phone, but more than that, I've consulted with people in the United States and Canada about finding wholesalers. And it's really gratifying to have somebody turn on a market that I have no idea about. So somebody
Really cool.
somebody in Toronto found the connection to organic in Toronto and was able to turn that market on. And then what they can also do, as this knowledge spreads out there, is they can start posting their hauls in their town to their Instagram, to their Facebook, to their social media.
Yep.
And just basically lighting up the United States, lighting up Canada, lighting up other countries. So it's pretty easy. I just look on a map and I do a search of produce wholesaler in that area. And then I ask the person on the other end to do the same search so that they have more information that they can click on as to far as each of those companies. And then once they do that, we can get on the phone for maybe 20 minutes and I can give them a little bit more detail about actually contacting the companies, because a lot of these companies don't want to deal with private citizens. So there's a little bit of a mental sleight of hand that we need to say. We need to say, hey, if you knew about the prices and the discounts that this company holds, this will change your life. And it might change your life or someone you reach out to's life so much that they actually make a business out of this. So when you're calling, with that thought in mind of there's someone, either yourself or someone in the future might literally become a business person in this area once they discover this information, you can, without any ding to your conscience, call them up and say, hi, I'm doing market research for a future company, which is totally the truth.
Yes. And I will say, people always ask me if I sell it. I don't sell it. I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. I have 3 kids and a business. I don't sell it. But many of my clients are now doing this in their areas, and they are getting their food for free. They're helping other families get stuff for free, and they're covering their costs. So that's a really cool realization. Like, if you can be the person like Alan, they come to your garage or your backyard or your driveway or whatever, and you're collecting things and they're buying it from you, hey, then you can turn it into a little business, which I think is really cool. So Alan does consulting. You can reach out to him at two produce clubs, or club on Instagram. It's clubs.
It's the number 2 produce club on Instagram. My email is ritter.alan88@gmail.com. And literally, I was having the same problem you're probably having. I went raw vegan in like April of 2010, and Whole Foods was eating
Yes.
my bank
Yes,
account.
you can't hear your ball. You can't heal your body without the
And
produce.
so I
And
was sitting there saying, I feel so, in like October, I was having like a life crisis because I was saying
yeah,
I feel so good,
but I can't afford it.
but I can't afford. You mean I have to actually make a conscious choice to go back to eating how I was eating before? And I was literally asking every single person that I met, what, how do I solve this life problem? And
Yes,
someone who was, one of my mom's caregivers made a couple phone calls. And just before Christmas 2010, four of us piled in a car and went to visit the market. And I've
I love it.
been buying there
I
ever
love it.
since. Yeah.
I love it. See, it's life changing. And I
Yeah.
don't want you guys listening, if you're not to that point, it doesn't matter. You can start with a little bit, a little bit, a little more, a little more, a little more. Just jump in,
Right.
take the resources. Again, reclaimersofhealth.com. There's a couple blogs there by Alan talking about how to do this in your area. Reach out to him. He does consultations. And I hope this was helpful to you guys. This is, like I said, it's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to jump on here. It just hasn't happened, but I'm so glad we had the time today. And Alan, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all
Thank
you've done
you.
for my family, for me, to help me do this, to help our clients and followers. And I just really appreciate you.
Well, I mean, my goal is very simple. It's help everybody eat more plants.
I love it. I love it. Thank
Yep.
you.
Have a great day.